Victoria, how you doing today?
I'm good.
It's a blessing for you to be over there in this show. We go way back. Like it's been a long time since I've seen you. Like it's
Yeah,
it's a blessing that the time that we get to rekindle. We're doing the interview.
it's like we never left.
Exactly,
We're back.
exactly.
Yeah,
I just want to say like Victoria is an amazing artist, amazing tattoo artist at
thank
that.
you.
Man, majority of my tattoos, she's tatted me up. It was so hard for me when you moved because I was like,
I
no. I was
know.
like,
I
no.
know. I move around a lot.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's a blessing that you're back and we are able to do this. It's amazing. It's amazing. Um,
it's
so
good to be back.
now for sure, but
Yeah.
for the people that know who you are, introduce yourself. Who is Victoria Rose?
Victoria Rose. Victoria Rose. Um, Definitely the person in the garage saying hi to their neighbors and working on a bunch of stuff here and um, just a simple kind of person.
All
Just
right.
being creative and being kind is kind of what the deal is. And I definitely am a strong, independent woman that doesn't take shit from nobody.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Self-made.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, like, shout out to everyone that's helped me along the way.
No, for sure, for sure. Before we get into your career and your future endeavors, and even in the present time, I want to tap into your upbringing. I want to start off with where did you grow up at, and what was your childhood like?
Um, Growing up in North Miami, I was always playing in the street, always barefoot. Made friends with all the neighborhood kids. Had no grip, no video games.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my mom would always have popsicles in the freezer, a fresh pitcher of Kool Aid,
All right.
ice pops. Everyone would be here. We would always have balls and hula hoops. We always would make our own games.
Right.
So yeah, until the sunset.
Right. Right.
Until the sunset.
It's crazy you say that because like nowadays that's so far away from where we grow up. You don't really see kids coming outside playing anything. Just people being outside, just chilling on the porch or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I miss those days sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Um, were you encouraged to be creative, or did you have to find that path on your own? Being outside, you talked about that, but do you think that kind of encouraged you to go into that path?
Absolutely. Having to be creative about ways that you were having fun and spending your time. I definitely learned to be more resourceful about the things that I had and creating more things to do. Um, my parents definitely saw that I was really into like doing a lot of like painting. One of the things that I thought was really funny that I liked doing when I was a kid was going in my backyard naked and painting all over my body
Or
and running around with body paint all over me. And
uh-huh.
I have photographs of that, and I think it's so funny and like so suitable as a tattoo artist that I liked putting paint on my body.
Damn, that's crazy. It's the little things. It's the little things that
Yeah,
our childhood, influence to what we do today. It's crazy. It's
so
those little
weird,
things.
so weird.
Yeah.
I was a weird kid. I was a weird kid. People would be like, "Oh yeah, Victoria's like kind of weird, but like we fuck with her. She's
Right,
crazy."
right. Nah, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, even them saying that, it's like, that's just you. It's just, you just more mature with
yeah.
it.
Riding around on skateboards, roller skates, or like bikes, and getting my knees all scratched up. I have so
Right,
many scars, and like
right,
my feet would always be shredded. Like I was just danger prone.
right. You was like,
I
whatever.
wasn't afraid to get some cuts and bruises.
Nah, for sure, for sure. Speaking of that, what role did your environment play in shaping your creativity? Because you even say like some of your friends said, "Oh, you know, you weird, but you cool too. So I'm gonna chill with you. Like, what, you know, how did your environment, or what role of your environment play into that,
Mm,
into your creativity? I'm sorry.
I feel like definitely being young and being out and like being able to like take public transit or like walk around North Miami. Like I made a lot of friends who were just in the neighborhood,
Right.
and I mean I was just having too much fun running around. Like I would always be like listening to music or tapes like in my little like or CD player or Walkman, and like just walking around like looking at things on the street, and going to the thrift store with my friends out here on West Dixie, and
Hmm.
just like talking, walking, trying on new things,
Right.
exploring. But we didn't really have money like that. We would
Yeah.
go to like we'd go to some fast food joint and just walk around all day, go to the gas station, just
Yeah.
like we were just chilling. I don't know.
Especially when things were cheap.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Um, you talked about, you know, but what got you really into art? Like what? Like I know you talked about the outside thing. What, you know, how did it transition into like, okay, damn, I want to go into the art space and just
Hmm.
create art, whether it's like you get a sketchbook or something like that in your, you know, in your own time or whatever. What transpired that?
There was a couple of things actually. The Museum of Contemporary Art, MoCA, right here
Mm-hmm.
on 125th. I went there on Fridays
Mm-hmm.
in middle school, and they had just like drawing classes, and that's where I met all my friends from North Miami
Right.
high school and junior high. And we would kick it and we would be drawing and hanging out. So I met a lot of other kids that were into like art and music and things like that. And then I definitely had a neighbor who was into art and painting, and she put me on to taking it a little bit more seriously and looking into like techniques and stuff. And I got a lot of books from her, so she kind of put me on.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Um, so by what made you take it more seriously after, like, you know, you knowing about all this? Because I can only imagine you learned so much
Yeah.
in those spaces that your neighbors put you on to. But like, what made you like take it like really serious?
Um, I definitely was gifted a sketchbook at some point, and I was told to like practice every day. So I was practicing. Um, I was practicing a lot more. I was taking it more seriously. Um, I I remember someone taking me to like my grandma taking me to the Coconut Grove Arts Festival,
Wow.
and she was like just go ask people, questions about like their work, and I was like, Mister, what did you do when you decided to paint like this? And I would just like be a kid asking
Hmm.
some artists like what they were doing, and they
Right.
were more than happy to divulge into their whole process for me. So it
Hmm.
was interesting to see like different people's approaches and techniques. And I mean, art can really be so multifaceted. So it was really interesting to get those kind of perspectives, and definitely having any kind of exposure to that being in Miami,
Right. Right.
definitely.
Right. Especially in Miami, where there's so many distractions and, you know, other pathways you could go into. But the
Yeah.
fact that those little moments.
I was like marine biologist, or because I was
Right.
like I want to swim with dolphins.
Hmm.
Like I thought that was the coolest shit
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. Facts.
I thought that was the coolest shit. I was like, do I want to get into marine biology? Because my dad was a fisherman. And I was like,
Right.
the ocean's right here. That makes more sense. But I feel like art really stuck out to me,
Hmm.
and a lot of people were like, you're really talented. Like you're good at this. Like you should go for it.
Right. Speaking of your parents, how did your parents feel by pursuing art? I know you talked about your grandma, but how did your parents feel? Because, you know,
Hmm.
that's like the epitome of like when you're young, you know, your support system matters, you know, growing up. That dictates how you're going to be in the future. So how did your parents feel about you pursuing art?
My mom definitely was so supportive and always just in awe about me having an idea. I would always be a little kid and be like, Mom, I have an idea. And she'd be like, uh-oh, like, here she goes. Like, there's her wheels turning. Like, I always had a good idea. And once I started getting into art, she would take me to the art supply store in NMB. It was called Easel Art.
Oh, Easel.
Yeah, Easel Art. It's not there anymore.
No.
No, they just moved. I drove past. I was like,
damn.
Some corny shit now. And then she would honestly like break her bank on the type of stuff that I was getting there, and it was one of those things where I was like, God, I like need to use all these things that she's buying me, and I used all of it.
Right.
Like,
right.
She was so supportive of that. But she told me, she was like, I want you to not just be seen as a tattoo artist. I want you to be seen as an artist. Don't forget that. Don't stand in the shadow of being a tattoo artist. Be an artist first and be a tattoo artist.
Never limit yourself. Pretty much.
Yeah. And my dad was like, she was like, oh, I'm a tattoo artist, man. You're an artist. My dad was like, so how do we go about making this a business? My dad was like, I can see this being good for you. How can we make this a business?
Right.
But a lot of the concepts and things that I was going into with art, they just went right over their head.
Right. Nah, for sure, for sure. I want to transition into you taking art more seriously now. When did you start realizing that art was more than just a hobby for you?
When it wasn't just a hobby, I definitely, when it wasn't a hobby anymore, I think by the time I was in high school, I think by the time I realized that there was actually opportunities because of seeing like career opportunities through school and understanding that, I kind of looked at it as being something that wasn't a hobby anymore.
Right.
That I could run with.
Right.
Yeah.
So was there a piece of work or project that made you think, I can really do this? Like, I could really take this art stuff to a whole nother level?
In high school, I remember taking sculpture, and my new obsession was, I guess, like studying Egyptology, and I was so fascinated with some of the architecture and the hieroglyphs and things like that, and I wanted to like kind of speak to a more ancient part of the creative process before it was ever a grade, before it was ever a gallery, before it was ever something that I needed to do to like prove something.
Right.
And I really wanted to make something that was like for myself. And I had this big idea to like build a pyramid. And I went with my dad to Home Depot, and I used all of the money that I had in allowance to go and buy a bunch of plywood and shit and just build a pyramid. And I had gold paint too. And we were in the garage here, and he was teaching me how to use saws and sanding and measuring and getting everything perfect. And I cut and sanded and painted this like 6 foot by 4 foot gold pyramid.
Right.
And he brought his truck, to help me drop it off at school. And it was one of those things where I was like, damn, I really learned so much from committing to an idea for myself and wanting to deliver it and learning how to use different tools. And it just felt like such a big feat for me to see a project all the way through, from the first vision of wanting to do it to actually making it happen, to actually bringing it so people can see it.
Right.
And it just felt really amazing to know that I followed that whole process through, and other people received it in a way that made me feel like I honored myself and I honored the creative spirit inside me to like really follow through with it. And I was like, damn, I can really do this. Like,
Right.
I can really like make an impact on people, because it's not even a matter of delivering with creating the piece. It's about delivering how people react and receive it.
Right. That's interesting because it goes back to like those moments, right? Like it just shows you like I gotta, once you realize I could do this, you just have this goal. You start setting these goals. I want to make this. I want to make that, and then you just be in a zone that you don't really realize you in the zone.
Yeah, you're like in your own world, and it doesn't
Right.
make sense to anybody.
Right.
Like my parents were just like, what the fuck is my kid doing?
Right.
One time I set it up in my room and my parents found me sleeping in the gold pyramid that I built myself, and they were like, this kid is weird.
Right.
This kid is weird.
Right. Right. Because it's not normal.
It's definitely not normal.
Yeah.
What kid, what teenager builds a gold pyramid in their garage, brings it to the room, and starts sleeping in it?
Right.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, they're like, yo, like, what's going on? Like, shit. But speaking about that time or around those times, like, how did you? Because in the beginning stages, us as creatives, we still developing. We're trying to figure how to create, how we want to create. How did you start defining your own artistic style? Did it happen naturally, or was it something you had to develop over time?
It definitely happened naturally, and it did happen over time. One of the things that I think helped define my style more as an artist was taking a lot of reference photos, using film photography, and I learned how to develop with a process called caffeinol, where you use coffee and vitamin C to develop the photographs, and it comes out in this brown tone, like a sepia tone.
Right.
And I loved painting from those reference photos in monochrome. And once I understood the elementary painting tones were ochres and burnt siennas and raw umber, all these browns. Brown's my favorite color, so it just has so much depth and warmth to it that I began painting in that brown monochrome because of those photographs, and then it became something that I was just seeing.
Right. No, that makes sense. I mean, but how was like, when did you realize, oh, I have my own style? Like, because you don't notice it while you're doing it, but over time sometimes you got to sit back. Oh shit, I got my own style.
Yeah.
Or somebody has to tell you that.
I definitely feel like over time, not necessarily understanding how my process was, but working alongside other artists in a studio space that I had a couple years back. Other people were working with color, other people were working with oil. I transitioned from working with acrylic, drawing in graphite,
Right.
and just started painting with oil, and it was a whole new world. It was like you see so much more dimension and richness in those browns, that once I started doing that and doing my realistic but very, you could see the line waver a little bit. And I even see that in my tattooing, is like it has a very defined illustrative style that looks almost realistic, but there's still like a painterly touch to it. And I don't want to be too much of a perfectionist, even though I have the eye and the capability to deliver an image that's really sharp. I like having just the human touch to it.
Right. The human touch is definitely, I mean, since the day we was ever created, like
Yeah.
in human times and stuff like that. That will never. I feel like, in today's world, everybody's trying to go into the digital thing,
And you
but
can't change
they don't
it.
have that soul. They don't have that
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, when
You
you
know.
look closely and you can see there's just a little bit where I might have dropped the paintbrush on the canvas, or I like brushed up against it, or there's a little bit of a ash on it, or
Right.
like, there's things that add to the character of even how the canvas was interacted with in its environment.
Right.
And when we go through life, we get a little cuts and bruises. When you look at someone up close, you see all their little imperfections,
Yeah.
and I think that that's beautiful.
Right. Right. And the texture and it's the
Yeah.
details. Like I feel like what I'm about to say might sound like a like how some people might. Oh, this is the artist, artist saying, but like life is art.
Yeah.
Without life, what would art would be? You know what I'm saying? Like if you think about it.
Yeah, life is art. Yeah. Everything's being moved and shaped by the world around us.
Right. Nah, facts. Um, I want to tap in more into the technical side a little bit.
Hmm.
What was one of the biggest technical challenges you faced when trying to refine your skills
Um,
as being an artist or creating art?
Technical skills. Um,
Because I can only imagine how you're trying to find, certain things. You're trying to figure out how to do certain things, and that could be a challenge for you. But you have to, I guess, somewhat master a technical side of creating certain things in your art.
Creating certain things like an underpainting, I find is really difficult in committing to like a composition. Um, having that moment before you start where you have an idea of what it could look like, but once you start planning for it, um, there's definitely there's this mystery where it is in your mind to where it could be on canvas or on paper or on skin. And a lot of the planning, a lot of the preliminary sketches, a lot of the reference, a lot of refining those elements and making exclusions or including new things and being able to simplify it to what you really want to say is more important.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I'm painting in plein air, just doing a landscape or doing a figure drawing, I always try to focus on how can I get everything down on the piece before committing to going into all those details so that I can get everything down and pay attention to what it is that I'm really trying to deliver through creating that image,
Right.
rather than getting distracted with one thing over here and then the rest of it's just not delivered the same way as one piece. I'd rather have an approach of getting it all down in the space.
Damn, that's crazy. Cause, and my bad to cut you off, but damn, I never thought of it like that as a for an artist. Like you can't just be focused on one part of the
Yeah.
canvas. You have to worry about the whole element of it. Because the
Hmm.
more you put, the way you broke it down, the way you focus on this, it's like, damn, I gotta focus on the every little different elements.
Yeah, the background, the foreground, the everything in a photo is it's already there. You got the background, you got the foreground, you got the
Hmm.
lighting. As a painter, you have to think about, all right, what elements do I want to include? The light post and the car in the back? Nah, we can get rid of that. You don't have to edit it out. You just don't paint it.
Right.
On the background, it's like, do I want it to be midday or do you want it to be sunset? How is the light cast in the
Hmm.
whole composition?
Right.
You know?
Nah, that's interesting.
So you get to be the master of that world and you get to include those elements that you want to include.
But that gives you perspective, right? That gives you a whole different perspective of art itself. Because without art or paintings, right, it won't be no photography. It won't be no videography. You know what I'm saying? Because without you guys, how would the perspective of an image be framed without a person's perspective on how they used to paint back in the 1800s and the 1700s and the 1600s.
Yeah.
They knew like, oh, the light is coming from this way, so I have to paint. You know what I'm saying?
Some painters would go, for landscape painters, they would go to the same place every day, make sketches, and they would have an idea of where that is. They'd take their sketches home, and then they'd go back the next day. And then they would study the colors at the same time, at the same place. And then they would go back to their studio and they'd start with those colors. And then they'd go back to the same place. And they'd start noticing, oh, I saw a bird that day, man. I'm going to put that bird in. That bird was amazing, you know? And then they go back into their studio and they're like, well, I'm going to include that. But they can't just take the image and bring it, unless they're bringing their whole studio setup, trekking to that place, putting it there and painting. But you only have so much time to catch that light at that certain hour. So do they want to keep going back every day? That's commitment.
Yeah, that's commitment, especially in those times.
Yeah, in those times, hundreds of years ago, they didn't, you know, they didn't have the access to the tools that we have today. So
you gotta have like a mental memory, really, if you think about it.
Photographic memory.
Yes.
Photographic memory. I think that's a superpower.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I think it might be one of my superpowers.
Yeah, because I think mine's too, because I will literally remember an image, whether I took or a certain photographer, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I know that as reference. Let me just use that as a reference, you know? So I want to tap more back into your emotions towards, you know, making art, especially on your come up. How did your personal experiences and emotions start influencing your work once you took art more seriously?
Definitely a point in time where I was understanding my realizations, my moments of enlightenment, and how the work that I was creating was coming from this need to do it, because I was so shocked by the things that I was feeling and realizing and reaching through, I guess, my connection with, I mean, the philosophy of life and nature and memory and memento. And it started shifting from that, and how everyday experiences were somehow more important. And painting something from life around you can be more than just mundane. It can be spectacular. It could be out of the ordinary. And it's a matter of understanding your connection to it, and also the grievances that I felt in the world and in my own life. A lot of the emotions around the time that my father had passed, I wanted to create mementos of, you know, who he was to me and what he instilled in me in terms of how I would like to live my life or how I would like to see the world. And really creating from that space.
Right. What would you say, just it could either be now or even on the come up, or either or, what was your influences or inspirations around those times or today? Like I said, like who inspired you the most? Like whether it's like your friends, family, artists, or anything.
There was a couple of people in my life at the time that really inspired me. Another local artist, Rainier Gamboa, he's an oil painter. We worked at the same studio together, and he pushed me to work with oil. And I just remember like seeing his work and just being like, wow, you're such a master. And he's the most humble person, the most kind person. And he taught me so much about really committing to doing your absolute best, working in a way that, you know, it's your world. It's your world. Like, you can run with it. And he definitely taught me that.
No, for sure. What were some doubts or fears you had when you decided to fully commit to your art?
Doubts before getting committed.
Yeah.
I would say when I was going to school and I knew that I couldn't afford to go to any college.
Mhm.
And no matter, even if I got the best scholarship ever, that I still wouldn't be able to afford it. And being someone who's not choosing the college route because it's what you're supposed to do, it's because I genuinely had the drive to do that. And there's no way I would have been able to afford it. So it was one of those things that stuck with me for a while. And I felt like a lot of opportunities wouldn't be knocking on my door at that time. And seeing everyone else go to college, I was like, oh man, I'm just here working a regular job while everyone's off, like going to college, like being an artist when, like, some of those people weren't doing it for as long as I was doing it, but they
Right.
still had a connection. I still was comparing myself a lot and my ability to have opportunities like given to me, but that was discouraging.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you say you got out of that fear and realized
Mm.
it's okay? You know what I'm saying?
It was really okay because as much as I really wanted to see myself like become a professional and um, have the college experience and like work alongside peers and people in my like colleagues, I ended up just staying in Miami. Everyone else fucking left, and I was like, I met all the artists that were in Miami. From Miami, I ended up working as a mural hand for some people, working in galleries here. I worked for Clyde Butcher, which was such an honor because he saved the Everglades in a way
Right.
through his photography. And I was so inspired at that time to like be using the connections that I already had without having a college education and still having that pay scale and still having that recognition as an artist, being in that. And I also learned from my father who owned his own business, like
The business side and
he
everything.
that was one of the most daunting things was like getting an LLC, having financial literacy,
Yeah.
and then there's social media. It's like that not only have to you go into marketing, LLC, all that, but being a freelance artist,
Teach you
they
that.
don't teach you that. They'll teach you how
Nah.
to work under somebody else. Be so good at being what you are that eventually you're just gonna work for someone else.
Hmm.
And I would rather be my own boss.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, just going back to what you said, like, who some of the people that graduated or went to school for art or fine art, some of those people don't get to meet some of the people that we get to meet.
Straight up.
Sometimes we
Straight
be
up.
friends with these people, you know?
Straight up. Yeah. And that's the thing though, is that it's regular people doing what they love rather than putting it under the guise of something like unattainable.
Hmm.
I was thinking that so much of that was out of reach and unattainable because I didn't have the money. But I'm trying to thread the needle, and I went through and I was able to just see it right before me.
Facts.
It
Facts.
was it was easier than I thought, and it was a matter of going outside of my expectations for
Hmm.
myself and being grateful for what I had.
All right. And going through the path that you took, sometimes you got to see the greater good of the path you take,
Mhm.
whether it's good or bad. Sometimes you got to go through darkness to see the light, to see certain things.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, Miami can be very consuming as well. I had to move away for 5 years.
Yeah,
I
facts.
had to move away.
Facts.
The
Yeah.
the thing about moving the thing about moving from Miami is that I learned about how this, like what I took for granted and what I knew that I had to have some severance with.
Hmm. Nah.
And take yourself seriously enough to know that like if you're from Miami and you want to be here as an artist supporting others in this community or in this city, if there is any of that left,
Right.
be part of that rather than letting it get swept away.
Yeah. 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 You gotta adapt, you know, you gotta be around, you know, in those elements for sure. For sure. Um, how did your relationship with art change once it became something you took seriously rather than just for fun? Because now you just mentioned the LLC, like the business side.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
So how did that change, or how did your relationship with art change over time?
Discipline,
Mm,
definitely discipline.
mm,
Like, there's nothing worse than having to do a tattoo when you're hungover.
mm.
There's nothing worse than uh, trying to like pay your bills when people are lowballing you and like they have expendable income to get tattoos because it's not a necessary thing. People aren't out here just being a patron buying art, but disciplining yourself to take yourself seriously, to have healthy lifestyle decisions, to manage your own business and market yourself properly and remain professional. Like, no matter how well you know somebody, always be professional.
Always.
And no matter how much you don't know someone, be kind to them because you never know what they're going through.
Never know. You
You
never
never
know.
know.
You never know what. You don't know. You might be in a bad mood and disrespect the person. You don't know that person knows that person to really
Yeah,
help you out to what you need to do.
exactly. Exactly. And I definitely feel like any kind of way that you can present in a way that's professional and in a way that um, you're showing up, you're arriving at a
Right.
place for for the work that you want to do. You have to
Exactly.
prepare yourself and discipline yourself. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, it's not fun. Like, you don't want to hang out tonight." I'm like, "No, I don't want to hang out tonight because guess
Right.
what? I have to get enough sleep to do what I need to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you're not paying. Like, my friends aren't paying my bills or like." You
Right.
know, oh, you did that tattoo. That's really like whack or whatever. Like, it's a silly tattoo. I was like, you want to come by and you want to get some badass shit, come by.
Right.
But if you're not coming by, you're not paying my bills. So I'll do tattoos for whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like sometimes you gotta be adaptable.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And then speaking on that, it's just like a lot of people don't like think artists or creative people are just like, oh my God, yeah, whatever, we
I
gonna
get
get
to do it
lit.
my way. I get
Yeah.
to. It must be so amazing to live in your world. I'm like, I've done some interesting jobs. You know,
Yeah.
I've done like
Yeah.
terrazzo flooring. Like I worked for a flooring business for a while. I
Hmm.
worked for like uh, doing like rehabbing houses and demolition shit in
Hmm.
Detroit. And it was like, if you knew like what really went on behind the scenes, because it's not like I just get to sit at my table and be like the
Right.
superstar of my
Right.
show all clean. Like I'm talking like wearing Carhartts to do Carhartt shit.
Yeah.
Like swinging the sledgehammers. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Like a lot of people don't know. Like
no, they don't
it's a
know.
grind, like that discipline. Like I always use what we do like sports or just life in general,
Yep.
like sports, like the discipline of getting better at what you do, you know, and being disciplined after, like you said, working. Like you have a regular 9 to 5, but then what you gonna do after that 9 to 5? You know, to get to do what you love to
You gotta
do.
stay thirsty.
Got to,
You gotta stay thirsty.
got to.
So many people. I remember I had an art teacher. She told me this, and it stuck to me so hard. She said, "Oh yeah, Victoria, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. You totally understand what's going on here with your work. I mean, I see other people doing it too because they see you doing it." And she said, "If you don't run with this, there's someone right behind you ready to do it." And I'm like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Like, I gotta just keep going with the way that I'm doing something before someone else snatches that because there's people that want it just as bad as you want it.
Facts.
And if you want to work and come home and just kick it, put your feet up, sit on your laurels, time's just gonna pass.
Facts.
It's already passed so much. you know, like I think about 10 years ago and where I am now, it's like that version of myself would have been like, wow, I had no idea that you would have been able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, damn, that's me in
Yeah.
the future. And it's because I didn't want to sleep on it. I really didn't want to sleep on it.
You put in that work.
Yeah, yeah,
You put in
yeah.
that work.
And I still feel like it's not enough. I'm like,
Yo, it's crazy. I just
like,
told somebody this earlier today. I had a meeting, and I was people like, yo, you do this, you do that. I said, I don't feel like I've done enough. I got more than I feel like I gotta do.
lists on lists on lists.
Facts.
I'm talking like I have a list for my list.
Right. Type shit, for sure. So I want to tap into more into like your first tattoo experience. I want to dive a little bit more into that. Um, what was your first tattoo that you ever got, and what made you choose it?
I got my first tattoo when I was 13, and I got that pyramid tattooed on me.
Word.
But I'd say my first like real tattoo experience um was actually like when I was 18. When I was 13 and my friend did it, and it was actually in a shop, which is scandalous. Um don't tattoo anyone underage. When I was 18, I was just graduating high school, but I was getting into physics a lot, and I was really astonished by Nikola Tesla and his impact on energy, light, and the science around electricity and electromagnetism. Basically, the world that we have right now was shaped by this man who died penniless.
Right.
So
they did him so wrong.
They did him so wrong. So I got a portrait of him as one of my first, like, I'm sitting down in a chair paying for an actual tattoo because I wanted to get that.
So what was that first experience like, sitting down? That's pain. That's that's your first little pain.
Yeah. I was ready for it. My tattoo mentor did it, Sanchez.
Shout out to
And
Sanchez.
yeah, props to Sanchez, tattoo junkie.
For sure.
He he saw the design, and the first thing he said, "Oh shit, hell yeah, electric Jesus." And I was like really stoked that he was stoked on it. And he was like, "This guy, I want a tattoo of this guy. This guy is fucking amazing, you know?" And I drew it the way that I wanted it to do, and he delivered it the way that, I wanted it to be. And I was so excited. I rode my bike there. I didn't have a car.
Right.
I rode like from North Miami to like Little Haiti, like I just booked it over there. I was riding my bike. I was so happy and excited. And I just remember like putting in headphones and just like laying in that chair and just being like, all right, it's about to go down. And I just went inwards, and he was in the zone. So we were just vibing. It felt good. I was stoked.
Right. So how has your approach to getting tattooed changed over time? Like, even like you getting your first tattoo. After you get your first tattoo, how's your mind, what was your mindset going on from then to like your future tattoos and down the line?
Some of my first tattoos were more thought out, and I was studying to be a tattoo artist and working in that direction already by the time I was getting some, which I think is important because you're understanding size and placement and style. And I always went the black and gray, black and white route. I definitely was into drawing all of my tattoos like as originals. Like I wasn't really into like just picking flash on the wall. Like I wanted to have
your own,
my own, yeah, like more like meaningful ones that I like designed myself. Over time, I feel like some of them had a lot of meaning and had like specific moments in my life kind of ingrained in those pieces, but
Mhm.
some of them are also just like, wow, that's a really cool image. Like, I'd love to keep that forever. And some of them are just fun, you know? I think people should just get tattoos if they already have some and they already have like a good relationship with getting tattoos, like,
Right.
you know, get some fun ones. Get some fun ones.
Nah, for sure. That leads me to my next question. Like, have your tattoos become, I'm sorry, more intentional and meaningful, or do you also enjoy getting them for your aesthetic reasons?
I think a balance of both. I do like them to have like an aesthetic cohesion,
Mhm.
but I do like mixing some more well delivered, like realistic pieces with more bold lines. I like having variation in kind of like a patchwork. I don't want them all to like look the same.
Exactly.
It's like being an art collector that like collects just
Yeah.
one artist thing, you know, and I like having a variety of styles. I also like trading. Trading with other tattooers is something that I love doing because
Collaboration.
it's almost, yeah, it's like a collaboration, and I get to give them a piece of my work and they get to give me a piece of their work. And there's so many cool tattoo artists out there that are around the world that I can't wait to meet.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's getting tattooed is a whole nother. I feel like a lot of people don't. I mean, it's people do talk about it, but a lot of people don't really tap into like the elements of like the collaboration,
mhm,
whether it's the client to the artist or the artist to
absolutely,
artist. Like
absolutely.
those moments and those times, it becomes therapeutic while you
Mhm.
getting tattooed because it's like a form of it's like getting your hair cut or you're getting your
Or
hair
getting a
done.
massage, you know?
That's
I mean, that's body work.
right.
I look at
Pain, but
it's pain, but pain can be therapeutic in a way.
that's true.
So
That's
I
true.
look at it as like, you know, your pleasure circuits
Mhm.
are very similar to your pain circuits.
Facts. Because that pain, I mean, sometimes when you get tatted, you don't really, I mean, you feel the pain, but it just becomes
I'm
whatever.
like the tattoo dominatrix. It was one of those things where uh, creating the experience for someone that I'm tattooing in a way where they remember not only like they're walking away with something that was a way that they honored themselves
Right.
and they honored their decision to keep something with them for their life. But I feel like I have to honor them and honor what they want that experience. The walking away with that experience is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that they had a good time and knowing that they were connecting with an artist that cared and
Facts.
didn't just look at it like a check.
And that's the key thing, because it's like, nah, bro, I want you to put your passion into creating my tat. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
like,
Every time.
yeah.
I'm not cheap with that. I don't Mickey Mouse it.
Mm-mm. I mean, our experience.
Yeah, I'm like, do you need something to drink? Do
Yeah.
you want to take a smoke break? Do you want to take a moment
Right.
to stretch? Like, do you want to listen to the music that you want to listen to?
Right.
Oh man, this album is really good, you know?
Right.
And like,
And I don't want to feel like I don't want the tattoo artist to be like rushing. Like, no, take your time. I
oh
set this
yeah.
day out for
Oh
us.
yeah, if you feel like, oh, I gotta be somewhere, or like, oh man, I just, I didn't eat enough, or like, oh, I feel kind of sick today, or I'm kind of hungover. I'm like, just, reschedule. No skin off my back. Hope you feel good.
Hmm.
I'll be here whenever you're ready. And it's
Right.
happened sometimes. It happened last night. This woman I was supposed to tattoo was not feeling well, and I was like, she was like, oh, I'm so sorry, and I'm like, don't be.
Hmm.
Don't be here 100%. I'll be here 100%, and we're going to get it done right the way that you want to get it done, and it'll be there for the rest of your life, and it'll
Right.
be a great experience.
Right. And it's
Just
all about the experience.
it's all about timing too.
Hmm.
It's all about knowing that everything will happen at the right time.
Facts.
And that's for life.
That's
So,
yeah.
that's for life.
That
Make
is.
it worth it.
Nah, for sure. Because you gotta look at it every time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
look amongst yourself. Is there a particular tattoo that represent a major chapter in your life?
Major chapter. Oh yeah, definitely rhythm and blues.
Mm.
Rhythm and blues was important. Um I got that tattoo from Sanchez as well, my mentor, and he is really good at the Chicano style script. He's amazing.
Shout out to Sanchez for real.
Yeah, for real. And it was around the time that my grandmother had passed, my father had passed, and I was spending a lot of time with my grandfather, and I was parsing through um, my grandmother's records, and I found her box of records, and it was a lot of doo-wop, and it was a lot of soul.
Mm.
It was a lot of rhythm and blues, old school rhythm and blues. And I went out that Friday night after going through things, and I started spinning those records at the club when they had the vinyl social club there. And
Oh,
you can just bring any records, bring your grandma's
yeah.
records, bring your cool records, do some cool shit, or you can just play whatever you have. And I just decided, I was like, whatever, I'm gonna play this shit. Let's see if people
Mm.
like it. I had no idea that there was an entire subculture of people spinning 7-inch records that were soul. Apparently, that was a thing. I didn't. I mean, I know it is now, especially on the West Coast.
Yeah.
But I had no idea at that time, at that age, that that was even a thing. And everyone was like, "Wow, that set that you played it moved my soul.
Right.
It moved my soul, and it was moving my soul that week when I was listening to them."
Right.
And I was like, mourning so much, and I thought, if this is the sound that brings people together, there's all the stories of love and all the stories of, like Smokey Robinson's the agony and the ecstasy. That's all life. That's all life. That's the message. And rhythm and blues is the root of funk and rock and roll and everything thereafter. I mean, I just felt like that's such a big part of me that I just wanted to get that in me.
No, for sure.
You know?
For sure. We gonna get to that in a few, but I know
Yeah.
that you are a big music head. You be putting me on this, music that I never heard and vice versa. So like that's one thing about you. People like us, we have old souls, but it's that feeling.
No,
It goes
music
back,
is so important.
but it goes back to that soul, like art.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
The rhythm and the blues.
yeah, literally.
Can't have one without the other.
Literally.
That's heart and soul.
That's definitely heart and soul. Like we're gonna get to that though.
We'll get to that.
Going back to the tattoo element, do you prefer to plan out your tattoos or do you like spontaneous nature of getting inked up?
I like both. Yeah, depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I won't get a tattoo for a while, and then I will. But it depends. I think being in Detroit, I didn't get a tattoo for a while. I was tattooing my legs or hanging out, doing some things on myself, but getting to know an artist and being in a new place. I mean, I'm not just eager to go and see an artist because their work's good. Like, I really care about like who the person is and who I'm letting mark my body forever. So, I mean, I hope people care about that when they like want to come connect with me and not feel intimidated by that process. So, I mean, it just depends on where I'm at.
No, for sure.
And who's there, who I have access to.
Yeah, it's like it goes back to the experience and just having that time and moment within getting tattooed or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned a certain type of style within your within getting tattooed or what type of style you like, but just curious is if you have a variety of different styles, but what styles of tattoos do you gravitate towards the most, and have your taste changed over time?
Definitely being that Sanchez is my mentor, him being Mexican and having the Chicano style and like the fine line black and gray, like the portraiture, the script, and being able to know how to shade and being able to have a clean line. I definitely love that, and the illustrative, like bolder line style. My style would fall into that more so than like traditional or heavy black work or color. I really I can work in those fields. I there's certain things like I feel like I could do it, but if I can't, I'll just say, I know someone who's really good at that. Here's where they are, But personally, if I'm not gonna do that for someone, I'd like to refer them to someone who like could do it better than I could, instead of trying to. But I usually stay within that range. But definitely a lot of the Chicano fine line, like black and gray style, I feel like that was what I was taught, and that's what I feel like I'm good at.
What about as far as like your tats on you? Like, would you say the same thing as well too?
Yeah, definitely black and gray. Definitely, I do like realism. Um, I do like just black ink. I mean, I like brown ink too, or like golds, like some of the traditional colors that I feel like translate well on all skin
All
tones.
right.
Is definitely more my style.
No, for sure. I want to transition into you tattooing the other way around, or the other perspective, you tattooing people. I know you talked about Sanchez. I know you talked about, certain people that, that inspired you, or that, like Sanchez mentoring you. But
Mm-hmm.
are there, or was there any particular artists or other artists or tattoo shops that first inspired you to pursue tattooing?
Um, Definitely Sanchez's approach being a street tattoo artist.
Mm-hmm.
He started working at the Carroll City Flea Market, and he would just talk about hand drawing everything, freehanding, doing whatever someone wants on the spot. Like, just being a good draftsman, I think, is important, and I wanted that, and I looked forward to being a versatile artist. That inspired me a lot more so than having like a style or like a name. Like, I wanted to just be good at like delivering. And I met other tattoo artists that had the same approach when I lived in Baltimore, and they were just good at drawing cartoons and illustrations, and they were more so like an artist, more so than being a tattoo artist, and following the more American traditional approach, and
Mm-hmm.
like being in shops. As much as I was mentored in a shop and understood the shop mentality, I had a more free approach to developing a style and to developing my techniques. And I think it's rough finding a shop that resonates with your style. And it was always that way for me, because I feel like people want to push you in one way or another,
Right.
and you don't really get to that point until you're about 5 years in.
Right.
So,
That makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah.
Um, when did you start seriously looking into tattooing as a career path?
I was probably, I did my first tattoo when I was 17 with Sanchez here in Miami at a shop that was right here down the street in North Miami. And it was because he liked my pen drawings. Tattooing is similar to drawing in with pen, because you can't make mistakes, or you'll see them. It's about really getting good at that. And I think 3 years down the line, when I got my first machine, and I was living in Baltimore at the time, and I was definitely doing tattoos out of my house for other like students at the art college, and
Mm-hmm.
people, anyone who's down, a lot of my friends. And um it kind of started off a little bit on a rough path, but I feel like I committed to that once I dropped out of school.
All right.
I went to college for like a semester, and I just was like,
Fuck this.
I was like, fuck this. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
it. I don't want to play this game.
Uh-huh. Nah, yeah, I mean, hey, man, like, it's those little moments. It goes back to those little moments where it's like, bro, you sitting, like, I could say the same thing. You sit in the class, it's like, bro, do I really want to be here for the next 2 to 4 years? I'm gonna find something else.
Free game.
Yeah.
Free game. Teach yourself. Work with people around you.
It's faster.
maintain your own resources. It's not for everybody. Some people need that structure. Some people need that push and that rigidity in their schedule. For me, I worked away from that because I naturally enjoy teaching myself.
Yeah.
And I have the connections already.
Facts.
And it's a matter of taking advantage of those connections and making those opportunities push you through the doorway, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely I will always say that our generation, we start to realize like we're able to understand the perspective of gaining more experience than to just like, hey, we just gonna sit here and just wait and figure it out. Like, nah, we just
there's no point because it's just dragging it on. You're not even going to get to where you want to be in the timeline, and you're gonna be, what is it, like a $500,000 in debt?
Yeah.
And it's like I realized that with tattooing, I was not only like working towards where I wanted to be as an artist, but tattooing can also fund my life as a painter. So it's like it just seemed so in balance with like who I was becoming at the time, and I was willing to be my own boss and take it seriously and take responsibility rather than have someone else make a schedule and a curriculum for me. I was like, maybe I don't want to read this book, maybe I want to read that book. Because that book's teaching me a little more than the shit that you've been teaching me.
And that's crazy because I thought like that as I gotten older. When I started reading books that I like, I wasn't a book person as a kid, right? So like then you like realize like, damn, it's more crazier books that's even way better than Shakespeare or something like that.
The things that people are trying to feed you. I mean, you can feed yourself.
Right.
Maybe you don't like that flavor.
Exactly.
You know?
And that comes with experience and getting older, you know.
Yeah.
So while you learning or getting into the tattoo space, was the learning curve harder or easier than you expected? And what was the most difficult part for you?
The most difficult part in being an artist or a tattoo artist?
Tattoo artist. Like, you know, in the beginning part of you learning, getting into like the tattoo space.
I am still learning. I am never going to not still be learning.
Right.
So I don't think that I have it all figured out. I don't think any of us do. If you meet a tattoo artist that thinks they do, then that's probably a red flag. That is a red flag. Yeah, I definitely feel like probably one of the bigger challenges for me now is being really on top of social media. My mentor really doesn't use social media that much, and he's more about being at the shop and doing the tattoo. And he doesn't really document his work well, so documentation is one of the things that I try to be really good at, and using social media as a tool, and taking that seriously.
It's a hard balance.
And taxes and accounting and all that, like as a freelance artist, like that's very difficult to navigate when you don't have a background in financial literacy, especially, you know, this day and age. Like it's like every little thing counts, and so many people are using those tools for like, I don't know, what are these, like like tattoo artists almost seem like influencers now, and I'm like, I just don't want to be like that, you know. I don't care if I think I have less than 3,000 followers, but I'm booked up and I love the people that I tattoo. I don't need to have a bunch of randoms looking at my stuff and like biting my style, and like there's a downside to being a little well known, and I like kind of being where I'm at right now. You know, I don't need like 20K followers. Like that's
it's everybody, I feel like now everybody's just trying to be famous. Like just chill.
I just want to be a good artist. I don't want to be famous. I mean, sometimes the best artists aren't famous until they die.
So. You don't get appreciated till, you know, you get older, or like you said. I'm just curious though, did your background, and I'm pretty sure it is, but Did your background in other art forms help you transition into tattoo? If so, how?
Definitely a lot of the charcoal drawing and drawing in pen, working with grayscales through charcoal, drawing from life, and drawing with pen, and not making any mistakes, and doing a lot of the like fine line sketches. That's really important to have that kind of good translation of skill.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of my technical skills come from wanting to study architecture
Oh
and
wow.
design. So a lot of my compositions and ways of drafting and lines and precision, I think, come from that like architecture design like mindset.
Yeah.
I think that that really like pushed me a lot. Um, definitely that background helped a lot.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's interesting how you said architecture, and I can see it in your work. If you
yeah.
like, I definitely by you saying that, I see it in your work for sure. Um, how did it feel the first time someone paid you for your work or commissioned a piece from you? Like what?
I was like, I don't want the money. I was like, I don't want your money. It's just so important to me that you have this.
Yeah.
I think at that time I was like really feeling like because a lot of the people who were like helping me move forward as an artist were my friends, and for them to say, I would rather be giving you my money than anyone else, than any other corporation. I was like, you know what? Fuck, you're right. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll take your money because, like, I'm gonna just give it back to the person that's gonna like cut my hair, or like give me a tattoo, or
Mm-hmm.
like help
Recycle.
me, something recirculate the money
Mm-hmm.
within our community, and it just felt like right for me.
Nah, for
And I
sure.
was really flattered. I almost didn't want to take any money.
I'm glad I'm one of them people because I
Yeah.
was like around this. I feel like you could correct me if I'm wrong, but around the time I was getting tatted by you, I think that was around like your earlier stages, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I
yeah.
mean, I've had some in between spots where I was like tattooing here or tattooing at my house or like
Mm-hmm.
tattooing at a shop. It's just like there was in between moments where I was like, well, I could definitely be charging a lot less since I'm working out of a studio or
Mm-hmm.
like out of my home versus out of a shop. And like, it's just a matter of like maintaining your professionalism
Mm-hmm.
and being able to move forward, knowing that like your work is still worth what it is,
Right, right,
regardless of the set and setting.
right.
Nowadays, it's popular for people to have like studios
Mm-hmm.
rather
Mm-hmm.
than being in a shop.
It's just so interesting. I'm hearing you talk, right, and I'm just thinking, as I'm listening to you, I'm just like, yo, the connection of a tattoo artist and the client or whoever the person is, it's like, yo, you really have that bond with
Mm-hmm.
that person for the rest of your
Okay,
life.
another thing that I've been thinking about is the tattoos of that I've done for people in my home. And recently, I did one in my backyard because the weather's been so nice.
Mm-hmm.
And we're hanging out. I have my tattoo set up in the backyard. It's so gorgeous out. The sun's shining. I have a canopy of oak trees. There's birds and butterflies. And somebody's like, this is their tattoo experience. Like, that's amazing. You can tattoo anywhere,
Yeah,
and to let someone in my home, people that I know, I gotta make sure you're not a homicidal
yeah,
maniac.
for sure.
But when you're in my home and I'm tattooing you, I look at that as you're letting me in your home.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I not like I'm honored that you are in my home the way that you're honoring me to be part of your home, your body, your skin.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it weird that you're in my home?
Right.
You're trusting me with your body.
Mm-hmm.
I can trust you with my home.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's an experience, man. Like it goes back to the experience. Like it
It's
just
it's intimate, it's sacred.
and it's like a person could move. Your tattoo artist could move. I don't know to
Yeah.
Japan or something
Yeah,
like
for real.
that, but on your body, it's just like it's there for the rest of your life, and you're gonna
Hmm.
always have that person in your mind. It's like your therapist.
Yeah, like your
It's your
therapist.
personal therapist. If you think about it, you know. That's why, like with me, like I can't get like it's only three people I get tattooed. It's you, Sanchez, and my other guy in North Miami called Pops. Those like y'all like the three. I can't. It's like nah. These are
Yeah.
my.
Some people want to just go to the nail salon
Mm,
and put their hand there and not
uh,
talk the entire time. They want to have a tattoo artist that's just sitting down doing the thing that they do. They don't talk.
mm,
I think that's fucking weird.
mm.
But I
Facts.
mean, I'm the type of person that will make you feel totally at home. You don't have to hear about my life. I
Mm.
don't have to hear about your life. We can keep it at that, or we can just be ourselves and you can tell me whatever you want.
Right.
I've heard some stories from people, and honestly, at the end of the day, that stays between us.
Right.
That's what I mean by it's like I'm your therapist. I'm like, who the fuck am I gonna tell?
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? It's almost easier to open up to people who you don't really know that well and are able to open up to and share that moment, almost like you're cleansing yourself from something and
Right.
like being able to start on a new cycle because you're changing something within your skin, almost like a of a initiation. I feel like
Right.
tattoos have always been that in ancient
Hmm.
societies, rites of initiation, and initiating or opening the doors for what, like it's up for you to decide
Nah, for
what
sure.
that is.
For sure. Yeah, that's just a whole nother perspective, man. And then you also think about like, you become you're not judgmental.
Not at
It's just
all.
like
You were coming to me with ideas that I felt resonated with your history, your life, the visions that you saw, and the way that you wanted your tattoos to look like. And you were ready to ingrain that within yourself. And I felt honored to be the person at the gateway, you know, opening the door.
hmm
And I mean, I look at those moments as being a part of your life that you were able to actually like stamp and seal,
right.
sign, seal, delivered, like have that moment in your
Facts.
life.
Facts. Um, did making art for your clients or people in general change the way you viewed creativity?
Yeah, all the time. I definitely, when people have a commission for me and they are like, well, I want it like this, but I want it to look like that of this image, and I am able to piece it together for them. They're like, whoa, this is like magic. I'm like, my brain is like Photoshop on acid. So I'm like, let's just go for it. And whenever I'm able to deliver it the way that they want me to deliver it, I learn more about my artistic ability. I learn more about um, my versatility and how I'm able to execute a design for someone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always surprising to me. I love commissions. Like I'll run with anyone's idea. If I can't do it, then I'll be more than happy to find someone else that could. But for the most part, like I feel like I could do anything.
Right. Right. So that leads me into going into your creative process and techniques. Walk me through your process when designing a tattoo. Do you
Hmm.
prefer freehand or stencil work?
Hmm. I I like both. I think for free, I typically do have stencil work. I still like hand stenciling rather than using machines sometimes if it's not a super rigid design. Something that I do when I post designs or if I'm creating a stencil, I leave a lot of the details out so it just looks more like an outline.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the shading and the detail I typically do like on the person's skin, not only to save time, but um, because I know that it will look better on skin than on paper. Um, and I definitely like freehanding pieces that are like wraps because there's no way that you can like print a
Mm-hmm.
straight line like a snake or something. If it wrapped around, like it would be spherical, it
Wow.
would have like a curve to it around the form of your body. So for specific designs I prefer, or like gap fillers like between other tattoos, I like to draw them in so that it can be really precise rather than like printing it out and having to size up and size down to really get
Right.
it where you want it.
Right, right. That just gave me perspective when you said, like, you know, when people get those, like, I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong, but like those like black
Bands.
tattoos where it's just like you said, it's like lined up.
Yeah, the bands that go.
Bands, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like you just gave me a whole nother perspective now to where it's like, yeah, you gotta have a straight line.
Yeah, and it's not going to look straight on skin. So
Right,
it's almost better to draw things on the skin rather than drawing it on paper and then stenciling it on.
right.
And no matter what, I really do feel like tattoos have to have a level of precision to be really perfect on the skin. Placement is really important, and
Definitely, definitely.
definitely drawing on skin can be by an experienced tattoo artist is like a good way to get a precise tattoo.
Now for sure. I mean that. Yeah, man, tattooing. I'm just my bad. Forgive me, but tattooing. I'm just
You're
so
good.
amazed by it because it's just like you really making art on the skin, and it's like you said, it's like a pin, so you can't.
Yeah.
You know, that's a
It,
lot of pressure.
yeah. For me, I almost feel like it's like cooking a meal for someone, and it's like you have to have it seasoned right. You have the right temperature. You have to like make sure this isn't gonna like kill someone. All the ingredients are fresh. Like it takes prep. It takes delivering. It takes
Right.
making sure that you're actually like doing that process right, and being sure of yourself and knowing that like you got all the flavors right, and that like hey, do you like this? Double check it. You want me to move it? You want me to move it up? You want me to move it down? Like, tell me now, because it's not permanent until I start putting the ink in your skin.
Right, right.
I have no problem moving a stencil around or any of that.
Right,
So
because every detail matters.
every detail matters, and it's your body. It's not mine.
Oh yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm gonna treat it like mine, but you tell me. You make the
Exactly.
decisions for me.
Exactly. How do you prepare mentally before a long tattoo session? Because I know them long sessions get crazy.
Um, I'll walk you through it.
Let's do it.
I'll walk you through it. So, before I even get there, I definitely sleep. Get a lot of sleep. I stretch. I stretch my back. I stretch my back a lot. I stretch my back a lot. I'll even put a back brace on. I'll make sure I'm there. I'll make sure I'm fed. I'll make sure I'm hydrated. I will make sure that I'm listening to good music that day. On my way there, I will be jamming. Like, I got to be in the zone, I got to wake up feeling good. And then when I'm there, I feel like just about to go in, you know, making sure everything's good with the person, making sure the other person's on the same level, feeling good, in their zone, fed, hydrated, like they slept. I just want to make sure that someone is physically, mentally, and spiritually ready to have that moment for themselves and be able to go inward and feel the pain and feel that experience and have that moment for themselves.
Word.
So
Word.
that's
Yeah.
definitely what I walk through.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't think. I mean, everybody. I feel like people always think about the people getting tatted of them long sessions, but a lot of people don't think about the tattoo artists.
Yeah, I'll maybe take a smoke break. Not too many. I'm not too dead set on that. I'll probably have some caffeine or work out in the morning or something, just to like get the blood flow and make sure that like I'm there mentally and I'm there physically and not like in pain. But the back brace is actually a solid thing I love. Yeah. I'm like, I don't care. I look like
Get in that mode.
I look like an old man or whatever with my back brace, but I don't care.
Right.
I protect my back. I need that.
So you talked about, like, I'm glad you mentioned that. You talking about on the way to the session, you already like listen to music and all those little details.
Oh yeah.
What environment helps you get into a creative flow? Do you listen to music, work in silence, or have like some type of ritual? Well, you pretty much told me a ritual on that, but
There's always more. There's always more rituals. Yeah, sometimes I'll like pull a tarot card. Sometimes I'll just be like, what is the oracle of the day saying?
right.
Just kind of like have something to review in my mind about like a virtue or a lesson or a feeling that I'm like really marinating on as like a symbol for that day or a symbol for that passageway or that feeling.
Right.
I definitely think music is probably one of the most important ones for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes you like what, space out a little bit while you doing it,
I not even just space out. I feel like
or zone rather.
there's different modes. Okay, I can be on my like spiritual jazz, Lonnie Liston Smith kind of vibe.
Ooh, okay.
I can be on my like Marvin Gaye, like Motown. I can be on my like, you know, maybe I'll escalate in a little blues or a little like rock and roll. I'll get a little bit like hard and heavy. Depending on, you know, whatever like preference my client is. I like a lot of music. I know that regardless of who I'm tattooing, unless it's like hardcore techno, I mean, I'm pretty sure I could probably vibe with most of anything that anyone would like. Not particularly big on pop music, but I feel like my happy medium's like 80s.
Right.
Like we listen to some like Donna's Summer and like
Ooh,
Tears
that's
for
that
Fears.
funk though.
Yeah,
That
some
Donna
Tears for Fears. I don't know. Like we can listen to some 80s shit,
yeah,
you know.
that Donna Summer, that
Yeah.
kind of get you in that vibe. That
Oh my
turned
god,
up.
yeah. And then I feel like for a long session, there's some moments, man, where like the last hour, I just gotta listen to Memphis rap.
You're on go mode.
I'm go mode at the end where I'm like, my back hurts, I'm thirsty. We got 30 minutes. You're any more? I'm like, we're almost done. I'm like, I'm go mode. Just turn up the fucking 3-6 Mafia.
Right.
That or yeah, I mean like DJ Screw, yeah, just any like southern rap I feel like really gets me in the zone when I need to power through something.
Yeah, that's dope. That's a vibe.
Yeah.
Especially like, I don't know, you know, sometimes people smoke sometimes people smoke while getting tatted or whatever the case may be. So that might just, you know, that
People just fall asleep sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I usually keep my listening to like a very easy listening kind of vibe. But people fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honored that people are so comfortable that they can literally just totally let go.
Right.
You wake up and you have a tattoo, and it's great.
Right. So I'm very curious. Do you prefer work with a client's vision, or do you enjoy more creative freedom when designing tattoos? I feel like I always wonder that when it comes down to a tattoo artist, like, because us as artists, we kind of want to do our way, you know, our type of style, but
Yeah.
when it comes down to like, you know, doing clients work or commission work, it's like you kind of have to balance that out.
Yeah, it's a balance. I love when a person approaches me and they acknowledge that my style suits their needs and suits their vision. And I love working with someone to be able to collaborate with them and bring out the best way to make that design come to light in a very like well executed manner. I'm willing to revise as many times as you like until you actually get what you want through that. Being as informative as possible is really important. Communication is definitely key. I definitely appreciate when people trust that I'm able to see their vision and that I'm able to deliver that for them.
Nah, for sure. I mean, it's like, because it's like what I see when it comes down to that is like these people or the clients, whatever, bringing their ideas into the light, you know, and you making it happen. Like say for instance, right? they just come up with a crazy idea, but they don't have a visual
Yeah.
Idea
Yeah, some people
or
aren't,
reference
they're
rather.
not artists, you know, so
Mm-hmm.
they don't know how it will translate into art. They just have an idea. And being that my background is in fine art and in painting, I'm able to translate that idea in a way where it looks good,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that it will be translated well as a tattoo and on their body and on their skin. Um, Definitely, one of the things that I think people have to do in those moments is sometimes if they don't really know, they have to just trust me as an artist and trust that my vision and their vision will converge, and that it will happen the way that it needs to in order to like be a tattoo or be like a commission or a painting or
Right.
anything that someone's commissioning me for.
Right. That's just a crazy perspective. But are there any new artistic styles or techniques you want to explore other than the things that you already explored already?
New techniques. Um, I definitely want to get more into realism in particular and shading in a way that it is more realistic, and I would like to do larger pieces. I feel
Okay.
like a lot of people come to me with an idea or a budget. It's really important for me to explore that in a possibility for like a larger scale, or having multiple elements that could be on a larger surface, like a whole leg or a whole arm or a whole back or a whole, chest. I think that
Right.
that is something that I really want to explore, having multiple elements become part of a larger picture.
No, for sure. Yeah, because I guess that perspective just showing you like you were able to experiment different things that
Yeah.
trying to figure out. Okay, let me, because sometimes you need a challenge.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get more
Always.
like repetitive, like now it's like, how can I challenge myself? Sometimes a client, I mean,
Yeah.
those situations, clients might have to give you that challenge.
Yeah, and having multiple sessions or multiple ideas and being able to not just make it one tattoo, but multiple
Right.
tattoos or multiple sessions, and taking something and splitting it into a larger composition so that you're looking at where they're being placed. Are they symmetrical? Or are they
Right.
moving together? Do they go with a specific theme or image, or like um, yeah, things like that I think is important. It's important to think about like in the long run, like not just what you want now, but what do you want in the future? What pieces are moving around others?
With my next question, I'm just very curious. I feel like we kind of tapped in enough about, not enough, but there's always so much. But more of like your career and how you got into tattooing and your perspective on who you are as an artist. But I want to tap in more into you,
Yeah.
outside of you in this field that you're in. Do you experiment with different mediums outside tattooing? If so, which ones?
Hmm. I really feel like some of the mediums that I feel like have informed my practice as a tattooer include photography, film photography in particular, painting, drawing, architecture, but other things that I feel like feed my ability to understand the images and the subject matter and how people are connecting with symbols and images and tattoos in general. I do a lot of archival work, and I'm really big on libraries. I'm big on books. And I study a lot of history, I study a lot of cultures, and those things that I've been getting into with that is studying artifact, um, antiques, different cultural items that I feel hold a sense of memento, through any kind of art history or how civilization has evolved over time and what we resonate with in terms of images enough to put on our body. Poetry, another one that I feel like I've been getting into a lot more, and how images become poetic, and how over time we've mused certain phrases or words or images to want to have them stand the test of time and last throughout history. And I definitely feel like music, in a sense, also ties into that, and I am big on that as well.
You definitely Miss Big DJ in the house. You know what I'm saying?
I'll be
Like,
spinning records too.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure, for sure.
yeah,
Very great, very.
yeah.
Every time I be,
Grooving, hell
be
yeah,
like, play that shit.
yeah.
You know what I'm
I'm not
saying?
super technical with spinning records, but I do
Mm,
feel like the music really does that for it.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
What got you into that though? Like,
Spinning.
or what made you get into DJing? And then I would say, well, let's say like all those different forms or
Hmm.
mediums. What made you want to experiment those different types of mediums?
Poetry and archival research and things like that, I feel like are really important to just understanding how we can deliver our message and our vision through the literary arts and through any kind of like any way that we have been able to explore documenting art and history and philosophy and all that, to be able to have that in our life and have a strong holding of knowing like what we like, what images we resonate with, what ways that our soul is connected to the things that we want to keep close to us and let that ingrain into our identity. Like I look at different people having different styles and different identities and ways that their culture or ways that they resonating with them resonating with things that can be something to reflect on
Right,
in how they choose tattoos.
right, right. No, that's definitely what it is. I feel like, but I feel like you can't put yourself in a box. You can't like you
No,
gotta be. You always,
yeah,
it's just like
be for the Renaissance. I know nobody had to do one specific thing in the Renaissance. You can be a person of many things.
right, right. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Um, let's talk more about like the challenges and breakthroughs in the industry that you're in.
Hmm.
Um, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges you faced when you first started tattooing, or while being in the tattoo industry?
I think being really young at the time was interesting. I
Hmm.
think I've always been one of the younger people around older people, just growing up in general. And I always feel like being professional and taking yourself seriously and treating others with a sense of respect, treating yourself with respect is really important. Knowing your worth, and especially getting into tattooing, it's a very like at the time when I was beginning, it was a very male dominated industry, and I felt like I had to set myself apart as a woman to harness that sense of care and that sense of receptivity towards others and my clients and the people around me as a way to make tattooing something that I feel is greater than just like getting inked,
Right,
it's something bigger than yourself.
Victoria. This is like mostly the conclusion to the interview, but before we conclude it, I want to tap into more into who you are, and your perspective on these different things, and also just reflecting on the different things and the outlooks you look at things as being an artist or who you are, or even being a tattoo artist as well. Um, but one thing I want to ask you, what's been the most rewarding part of being both an artist and a tattoo artist?
Being an artist is a responsibility. Being an artist is a discipline. Being an artist is an absolute blessing. I am so grateful for everyone who has ever helped me on this journey. Um, Everyone, my family, my friends, everyone who's ever loved me, like their voices are with me always. And I definitely feel as though the impacts that I've made on others through my work is so much greater than me. And when I see tattoos out in public or like just out when I'm hanging out or when other people have tattoos from me and they do as well and they see each other and they're like, Victoria did that, didn't she? And they're, I have friends tell me that, I saw someone else that had one and they were they said that you were just great. And I'm like, that means a lot to me that people enjoyed their experience and that I made an impact on them in a positive way.
All right, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
That's truly a blessing.
Yeah.
In your words, how do you define success for yourself as an artist, or just you in general? Has that definition changed over time?
I think over time, being someone who just looked at art as something that was just a part of me, and then taking it seriously through a career, a lot of people can romanticize that, and I look at it as a responsibility. So over time, I really feel like I honor it more, and I love connecting with other people and maintaining a connection to a more rudimentary creative sphere that's not capitalistic or that's not confined to a job. And I feel more free knowing that I'm an artist in a sense beyond what people perceive of me.
Right.
I don't like being put into a box,
Right. Right. Because it's like you got so many ideas, like you said, in that list, to where it's like I can't just do one little medium. I gotta do, and then also, what is success, right?
Yeah, I feel successful every time that I'm able to just wake up, spin a record, put my clothes on, take a ride on my motorcycle, get in my groove, make a small painting, come home and just know that I lived another day.
Mm-hmm.
You spent another day.
And that's the only thing
that's all that matters,
Yeah.
I mean, we take our experiences and our moments in our life and we get to create the world that we want to.
The present time. Focus on the present.
Yeah, the present
future
time.
or the past.
Especially in the times that we're in now, there's so much chaos and mental instability and like so much happening sociopolitically, environmentally, that I find that it's even more important to be someone that instills a positive impact on people and to have that space in my heart to give that to someone. No matter how small the interaction is,
Right.
it can change someone. It
No,
can
for
change
sure.
someone's whole perspective or their whole day,
For sure.
their whole life.
For sure. Nah, for sure. For you, is there a dream project or collaboration you would love to work on or work with, or a special collaboration you would want to collaborate with?
I've definitely been looking at residencies and I've definitely been looking at traveling for tattooing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would absolutely love to go to New Zealand. I would love to go to Japan. I would love to go anywhere in the Caribbean. And a big part of myself is, well, not a big part, but all of myself wants to be back in Italy, where my family is from, most specifically southern Italy, south of Rome, down to Sicily. And I looked up most tattooed country, and it's Italy and New Zealand.
That makes sense, though, especially New Zealand.
Yeah, and the Maori tribe and people in their culture like being heavily tattooed, and that in society being extremely accepted.
Right.
I think that exploring those places could give me a huge perspective that I'm not used to being in America.
Right.
And how much I'm giving in my like art form.
It's crazy you say New Zealand. I was watching, I'm not sure if it was in New Zealand or whatever the case may be. But I was watching The Lighthouse, William Dafoe and forgot the other actor name top of my mind, of Robert Pattinson. And it was one scene, you know, these are like sailors or lighthouse attendants or whatever the case may be. He had like Willem Dafoe had like it was, you know, fake of course, but like a boat, like a ship tattoo on his chest, and that just made me like, oh, around those late 1800s or early 1900s, where those people was like in that environment, those like pieces of tattoos was like a symbolism of them, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of early tattoos at that time were for like sailors or anyone that was like seafaring people, most specifically in Western society, but Eastern society, like it's always been pretty tribal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, for sure. What's something you hope people take away from your art and tattoos?
I hope people take away from their experience with tattoos feeling a sense of honor in themselves and a sense of success in honoring who they are, like in their identity, and claiming that, and we're reclaiming that in their body.
Right. Right. I'm very interested in asking this last question. What do you want your legacy or artistic legacy to be when it's all said and done?
I definitely feel like I'd like to make a positive impact on others, and if I could just end all the suffering and pain, I wish I could just do that. All the suffering and pain, just end it in the world.
That's a dope answer. I like that. That's you know what we do. It was this. I'm gonna end it like this. Marvin Gaye got this lyric in his song. He says, "Artist pays the price." The artist pays the price. I feel like we deal with more of the pain throughout the world than like I wouldn't say the average Joe, but we're the one that's delivering these messages.
We allow ourselves to feel it completely, and we are allowing ourselves to alchemize that pain and process that pain and feel that pain completely and transform that into something beautiful so that others can be alleviated of that. And I just want to take it away, you know? I think that like feeling things completely and going deeper and diving deeper and not just staying in the shallow lands catching small fish, but going deeper and catching big fish.
Amen.
That takes a lot of fearlessness. That takes a lot of strength. And I don't like to feel as though my heart is being hardened from those experiences and that I'm too tough. You know, you won't see me cry. It's okay to cry.
Yeah. Facts.
It's okay.
Facts. So, do you have any final words of wisdom for aspiring artists, tattooists, or creatives trying to find their path?
I definitely feel like it's really important to know where you came from. No matter where you end up, it's really important to understand yourself as a human and know that we all inherently come from nature. Don't forget what you are and don't forget who you are, and respect yourself. Never forget who doubted you. Because when you turn around and people want to come up to you and be like, oh, hey, remember me? Yeah, I remember you. Yeah, you motivated me a lot. Thank you. Haters are always going to be the motivators. But you just be yourself.
Facts.
Be yourself.
So, this concludes the interview. Victoria, I truly appreciate it. I thank you for sitting. I feel like this is more than an interview. This is more like a a therapy session between both of us, or just a session in general, just having a conversation in general. This is more than an interview to me, and this is actually it's truly an honor being in your presence. Is me tapping in with you,
Yeah,
and what goes on
always.
in your mind and everything like that. And it's always good to see you. It's always good vibes.
So good.
And I truly wish you the best for your future endeavors, and anything you need, feel free to reach out to me. You always be family to me. This is bigger than just an interview. This is a family reunion.
Yes, it's like a family reunion.
For
Just
sure.
kindred spirits dance around in this big old world. And I'm just lucky to be here and to have found the people in my life that, like you, we just are able to converge and move forward, knowing that we're
Facts.
bringing each other up into the future.
Facts.
We're looking at this like years down the line. I mean, it's already been years down the line.
For
I'm just
sure.
like, let's just keep the good times rolling, man.
For sure. For sure. How can the people connect with you and see your work or book an appointment with you?
I have a online portfolio. I have a fine art portfolio on a website, and I do have a page for tattooing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can reach out to me through a direct message. You can email me, or you can use a form for booking a tattoo where you can include all of your information and ideas and reference. And I will likely reach out to you via text or email about a schedule, and we could just link up.
For sure. Again,
Yeah.
Victoria, thank you,
Thank you.
and I wish you the best for your future.
Thank you.